नमः ओं विष्णुपदाय कृष्णकृष्णाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत नमः ओं विष्णुपदाय कृष्णकृष्णाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत नमस्ते सरस्वती देवी गौरवाचारिणी निर्विशेष शून्यवादी दुष्टारिणी नमस्ते सरस्वती देवी गौरवाचारिणी निर्विशेष शून्यवादी दुष्टारिणी जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे गोविंद जय जय गोपाल जय जय 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 राधा रमण हरि गोविंद जय जय राधा रमण हरि गोविंद जय जय राधा रमण हरि गोविंद जय राधा रमण हरि गोविंद जय हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे जय राधा गिरधारी राधे जय राधा गिरधारी राधे जय राधा गोपीनाथ राधे जय राधा गोपीनाथ राधे जय राधा रस बिहारी राधे जय राधा रस बिहारी राधे जय राधा मदन मोहन राधे जय राधा मदन मोहन राधे जय राधा कुंज बिहारी राधे जय राधा बांके बिहारी राधे जय राधा बांके बिहारी राधे जय राधा माधव राधे जय राधा माधव राधे जय जगन्नाथ जय बलदेवा जय सुभद्रा जय जगन्नाथ जय बलदेवा जय सुभद्रा जगन्नाथ स्वामी नयन पथगामी भवतु जगन्नाथ स्वामी नयन पथगामी भवतु जय जय प्रभुपाद जय जय प्रभुपाद जय जय गुरुदेव जय जय गुरुदेव जय जय गुरुदेव और हरि नाम संकीर्तन की शिल प्रभुपाद की जय। गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। यशोदनन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जन। यशोदनन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जन। यमुना तीरवनचारी। यमुना तीरवनचारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। यशोदनन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जन। यशोदनन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जन। यमुना तीरवनचारी। यमुना तीरवनचारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे। हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे हरे। हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे। हरे राम राम हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे हरे। हरे राम राम हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे हरे। हरे राम राम हरे हरे। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये। नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवनम्। भगवतीम् उत्तम श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्ठिकी. Welcome everyone in Bhagavad Gita class. So we are in chapter number 14, discussing verse number 6. So last time we have covered till 5. So we'll recite the verses and then followed by Mangalacharan. We'll discuss on each sloka. 14.5. Sattvam rajasatama iti gunaha prakriti sambhava nivadhananti mahabaho dehe dehinam avyayam. Material nature consists of three modes: goodness, passion, and ignorance. When the eternal living entity comes in contact with nature, Almighty Ambali, he becomes conditioned by these modes. Verse number 6. Tatra sattvam nirmalatva prakasakam anamayam sukha sangena badhanati jnana sangena chanaga. O sinless one, the modeness of goodness, being purer than others, is illuminated, and it frees one from all sinful reactions. Those situated in that mode become conditioned by a sense of happiness and knowledge. Verse number 7. Rajo ragatmakam vidhi Krishna Sangha Samudhavam Tani Vadhanati Kaunteya Karma Sangena Dehinam. The modes of passion is born of unlimited desires and longings, O son of Kunti. And because of this, the embodied living entity is bound to material fruitive action. Verse number 8. Tamastva ajnanatam vidhi mohanam sarvadehinam pramadalasya netrabhish tannivadhanati bharata. O son of earth, know that the mode of darkness, born of ignorance, is the delusion of all embodied living entities. The result of this mode are madness, indolence, and sleep, which bind the conditioned soul. Verse number 9. Sattvam sukhe sanjayati rajah karmani bharata jnanam avritya patamah pramade sanjayati uta. O son of earth, the mode of goodness conditions one to happiness. Passion conditions one to fruitive action, and ignorance, covering one's knowledge, binds one to madness. Verse number 10. Rajastamascha vibhuya sattvam bhavati bharata rajah sattvam tamasyaiva tamah sattvam rajastatha. Sometimes the mode of goodness becomes prominent and defeating the modes of passion and ignorance. O son of God, sometimes the mode of passion defeats goodness and ignorance, and at other times ignorance defeats goodness and passion. In this way, there is always competition for supremacy. 14.11. Sarvadvaresu dehesmin prakasha upajayate jnanam yada tada vidyat viviridham sattvam iti uta. The manifestation of the mode of goodness can be experienced when all the gates of the body are illuminated by knowledge. 14.12. Lobha pravittir arambha karmanas karmanamashah spriha rajasyetani jayante viviridhe bharatarshava. O chief of the Bharatas, when there is an increase in the mode of passion, the symptoms of great attachment, fruitive activity, intense endeavor, and uncontrollable desire and hankering develop. Verse number 30. Aprakasho apravittisya pramado moha evacha tamasyetani jayante vividdhe kurunandana. When there is an increase in the mode of ignorance, O son of Kuru, darkness, inertia, madness, and illusion are manifest. 14.14. Yada sattve pravidhetu pralayam vyati dehavrit tadottamam vidam lokan amalan pratipadyate. When one dies in the mode of goodness, he attains to the pure higher planets of the great sage. 14.50. Rajasi pralayam gatva karma sangi sujayate tatha pralinastamasi mudhayone sujayate. When one dies in the mode of passion, he takes birth among those engaged in fruitive activities. And when one dies in the mode of ignorance, he takes birth in the animal kingdom. 14.60. Karmana sukrityahu satvikam nirmalam phalam rajastu phalam dukham ajnanam tamasah phalam. The result of past action is pure and is said to be in the mode of goodness. But action done in the mode of passion results in misery, and action performed in the mode of ignorance results in foolishness. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshurunmilitam Ye Tasmai Sri Guruvai Namah Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Tadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yutapadakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavamsa Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Sajivam Sadhuvaitam Savadhutam Parjana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakhan Bhutansa Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyava Pashyata Desatarini He Krishna Karunam Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpati Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namaste Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Trishabhanu Sudevi Pranamami Haripriya Vancha Kalpatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhubhyaeva Patitanam Pavane Vaishnavyo Namo Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Welcome everyone in Bhagavad Gita class. So we are in chapter number 14, verse number 6. So first we'll revise what we have seen in verse number 5. Verse number 5. So in verse number 14.5 to 9, we'll see how pure soul is conditioned by three modes of material. So whatever activity we do in this material world belongs to these three modes of material nature: goodness, passion, and ignorance. Now, how this mode control our activity? And if we say the mode of goodness illuminates and frees one from sinful reaction, he becomes conditioned by happiness and knowledge. So he had some material motive behind the activity. And by the mode of passion, one fulfills one's desire and longings and earns a lot of money, make a huge wealth for getting car, bungalow, a lot of money for enjoyment. And those who are suffering from ignorance, they are actually mad, lazy, indolent, and always sleeping. So, the mode of goodness controls one to happiness, passion, to fruitive activities, and ignorance to man. So, in this way, we can see from verse number 5 to 9, we are going to discuss about how this soul, although the soul is eternal, is conditioned by three modes of material nature. So verse number 5. Sattvam rajas tama iti gunaha prakriti sambhava nibadhananti mahabaho dehe dehinam avyayam. Material nature consists of three modes: goodness, passion, and ignorance. When the eternal living entity comes in contact with nature, O mighty armed Arjuna, he becomes conditioned by these three modes of material nature. Okay, so although by nature wise, the soul is eternal, super soul and soul both are eternal. They are the living entities. But when they enter into this material world, they become conditioned. They are controlled by three modes of material nature. Now, we are going to discuss how does the living entity gets conditioned? How does the soul gets conditioned? So, whenever the soul comes in contact with material nature, becomes conditioned by it. Despite his desire for independent enjoyment, his existence is subject to strict control by the modes of nature. Although soul wants to enjoy independently, but once it comes in contact with material nature, it becomes controlled by three modes of material nature. So, the fault which causes the soul's conditioned state certainly rests in his own independence. So, we cannot always blame Krishna that because of Krishna, you are in this material world. But Krishna cannot be blamed. Why? Because for that your soul is conditioned. So, we cannot blame Krishna any more than a criminal can blame a judge for his guilt. If a judge gives a decision about a particular criminal for death sentence or lifetime imprisonment, is the judge is responsible? No. Similarly, Lord is not responsible for our soul getting conditioned. It is our karma. It is purely our karma. Because of your karma, you are getting conditioned. So why the transcendental living entity suffers? Although a transcendental should not suffer, a transcendentalist should not suffer, but transcendental living entities suffer. Why? Because it gets conditioned by three modes of material nature. Okay, so when it gets conditioned, it has to act under the spell of three modes of material nature. Okay, so based on your karma, based on your desire, you get different body for enjoyment. So whatever you desire, okay, so whatever you desire, Krishna fulfills. And because of that desire, this desire becomes the cause of happiness and issues. It means what? Once you enter this material world, your soul gets conditioned by the three modes of material nature. And because of this conditioning, happiness and distress happens. So, material nature consisting of three modes, that is goodness, passion, and ignorance. Although the eternal living entity is soul is eternal. And it is transcendental. So what is the feature of transcendental? Sat, Chit, Anand. The nature of soul is Sat, Chit, Anand. But when it comes in contact with three modes of material nature, it becomes conditioned. Forced to act according to these three modes. After condition, it means it is completely controlled. It is completely controlled means it has to act according to the three modes of material. It may be goodness, passion, or ignorance. So that we have seen in the verse number 5. Now verse number 6. Tatra sattvam nirmalatvat prakasakam anamayam sukha sangena badhanati jnana sangena chanagha. O sinless one, the mode of goodness being purer than others is illuminating, and it frees one from all sinful reactions. Those situated in that mode become conditioned by sense of happiness. So if I say three modes of material nature, the first nature is goodness. So in goodness also it is conditioned. Why? Because you are running behind knowledge and happiness. So that material character catch completely the soul. Because of that, living entity becomes conditioned. How mode of goodness binds the living entity? Although the mode of goodness is purer than others, purer than ignorance, purer than passion. And mode of goodness can free one from all sinful reactions. But it is also getting, because of soul is getting conditioned by goodness. Why? Because one wants sense of happiness and knowledge. Okay, sense of happiness and knowledge belongs to this material world. That's why we can say goodness also can cause condition. Okay, so goodness means happy, passion means active, ignorance means helpless. Okay, so goodness gives you happiness, and passion gives you activeness, and ignorance gives you helplessness. So who are the representative of type of goodness? Brahmana represents mode of goodness. Brahmana lives in the mode of goodness. What is the best example for goodness? Best example for goodness are scientists, philosophers, and poets. They are writing so many big theories, and they are proud of their knowledge. although they are doing good, but their knowledge, their soul, the living entity residing in that particular person is getting conditioned by goodness. They have the knowledge, but they want happiness. Because of that happiness, sometimes also they are in distress. Okay, so because of this happiness and distress, because of this kind of enjoyment, they are bound in the repeated birth and death. Complete. Okay, so they feel sort of happiness sometimes and distress sometimes. Okay, so what causes the sense of happiness? Because one is more or less free from sinful reactions. Okay? So because of goodness, one gets happiness. Or he gets happiness more than others, like distress or any sinful reaction or any other things. But he is happy because of this goodness. But we can say here soul is getting conditioned by the mode of goodness. So in goodness, there is no likelihood of liberation. Why? Because of soul getting conditioned by goodness, you are running behind happiness and knowledge, like scientists, philosophers, and poets. That's why we can say that soul is getting conditioned by goodness. Verse number 7. So that is verse number 6, now verse number 7. Rajo ragatmakam vidhi Krishna sangasam udbhavam tanani bodhunati kaunteya karma sangena dehinam. The mode of passion is born of unlimited desire and longings. Ocean of complete. And because of this, the embodied living entity is bound to material fruitive action. So in mode of passion, what happens? One wants to work hard and wants to make a lot of money, lot of wealth for big house, bungalow, car, and all these are the desire and running behind for fulfillment of these desires. So passion is also conditioned. So passion is controlling the soul. So passion binds by the ropes of desire and attachment. You have attachment. My house, my car, my bungalow, my wife, my so and so. So many things. So many belongings, longings are there. And this it is characterized by strong attraction between man and woman. So much asakti in man and woman. Man with woman and woman with man. So what is advancement of modern civilization? So it's considered in the mode of passion. Formerly it was in goodness, but now it is considered in the mode of passion. Why? Because one is just running behind to fulfill the desires, to make a lot of money, to make a big house. So now it comes under category of passion. What are some products of mode of passion? Sense gratification, material enjoyment. They want honor in society, nation, etc. They want happy family life. They want to live a happy family life. Beautiful wife, beautiful children. Okay, they want everything posh. They want to enjoy everything, every moment. They want to construct a big house, big bungalow. And for that, one works day and night. Okay, so because of this, they are bound by the fruits of action. They work hard to get a lot of money. They get a big car for show. They want a big house for show. They want a beautiful wife for show. Okay, so everything is in material competition. They have a competition. So is there any chance of liberation in passion? No chance. Why? Because they are always hankering behind something, behind to fulfill the desire. And it is never fulfilled. Why? It is never fulfilled. Why? Because they want to work hard and they want the fruits of action. They want to enjoy the entire money going to be accumulated. Why? They have asakti, attachment in that. And wherever there is attachment, there is distress also. Okay? Wherever there is passion, happiness and distress both. Profit and loss both. Okay? So this is all happening by passion. We have seen in verse number 7. Verse number 8 talks about ignorance. Tamastva ajnanajam vedhi mohanam sarvadehinam pramadalasya nedrabhis tannivadhanati bharata. O son of Bharat, know that the mode of darkness born of ignorance is the delusion of all embodied living entities. The results of these modes are madness, indolence, and sleep, which bind the conditioned soul. So goodness is binding conditioned soul. Passion is also binding conditioned soul. Even ignorance is also binding conditioned soul. So it is condition, means it is control. When you practice serving direct Lord Krishna, all these three modes of material nature go away. But when there is no Krishna Bhakti, all these three ropes will bind you like anything. So how ignorance binds? Ignorance causes delusion for all embodied living entities. And what happens? Madness, indolence, sleep, these all bind one in ignorance. What are the characteristics of ignorance? So ignorance is exactly opposite of goodness. If you are in ignorance, I'm explaining you something, I'm trying to make you understand some concept, you will not accept. Ignore. Shodna. Okay, so it is very, very peculiar about any living entity. How this ignorance is manifested? How it is manifested? Okay, sleeping unnecessary. 6 hours sleeping is sufficient. But they are sleeping 10 to 12. They are spending more time in bed. 10 to 12 hours. They are very addicted to intoxicants and sleeping. They want to sleep, they want to eat, they want to mate, and they want to defend. Okay, so those who are in ignorance, they don't even fulfill their own desire. They are lazy. They are mad. not interested when invited to associate for spiritual understanding. Those who are in ignorance, call them to the temple. They will never come. They will never turn. Why? Because they are lazy. Because of that ignorance and laziness, they are devoid of Lord Krishna. Krishna will shower mercy on you only when you have desire to serve Krishna. You will listen to Acharya. You will follow Guru, Sadhu and Shastra. Only when there is the mercy of Krishna, mercy of devotee. If mercy of Krishna, you will get mercy of devotee. So always keep Krishna in center. Whatever activity you are performing, Krishna will fulfill your desire. And Krishna fulfills your desire. Whether you want material things, whether or you want spiritual. If you want spiritual and material both, Krishna will give you a lot of material things. In such a quantity, you will forget spiritual. So Krishna don't want to give bhakti. Krishna is happily giving the material things. Ask, you want money? Take it. You want wealth? Take it. You want a lot of gold? Take it. You want a big house? Take it. You want a car, bungalow? Take it. But if you ask for bhakti, Krishna will test you. Krishna will send Maya to test you. But once you become bhakta, Maya will not touch you. Okay, so how it is manifested? Because of madness and laziness. And what is the destiny of those who are in ignorance? No chance of liberation. Whatever you do, you can be never liberated. One can be never liberated, those who are in ignorance. Okay, that is the ignorance condition. Text number 9. Sattvam sukhe sanjayati rajah karmani bharata jnanam avrityatu sattvam samah pramade sanjayati uta. O son of Bharat, the mode of goodness conditions one to happiness. Passion conditions one to fruitive action. And ignorance covering one's knowledge binds one to madness. Okay, summary of all the conditions. So goodness conditions one to happiness. Passion conditions one to fruitive actions. Ignorance covers one's knowledge, binds one to madness. So what is the difference between passion and ignorance? So those who are in passion, at least they engage in some fruitive activities. But those who are in ignorance, they are so lazy. Got a habit of having intoxicants. Got a habit of more sleeping, spending 10 to 12 hours in bed. Ignoring the regulative principle. Ignoring the devotional service because of their laziness. They cannot get up early in the morning. When a devotee is serving Krishna, a person in ignorance is just sleeping, not even putting a single effort to have something. So those who are passionate, they are good compared to ignorance. It is they are doing and they have some desire for fruitive action. But those who are in ignorance, they are completely deluded. They don't want to work. They don't want to be active. Okay, so this is the verse number 9. So how these material modes of nature act? So working of the 3 modes of material nature. So there are different parameters. binding forces for each modes, characteristics and manifestations, destination at death, results of action, obstacles presented by various modes. So goodness, passion, and ignorance. Okay, so binding forces for each modes in verse number 6 to 8 we have seen. That is goodness, sense of happiness, satisfaction, knowledge, and superiority. All these qualities are good, but these are material. Passion, attachment to fruitive activity. I will do this and have a lot of money. So fruitive activities. So in this, one is bounded by ropes of desire and attachment. So binding forces in goodness is happiness, satisfaction, knowledge, superiority. Binding forces in passion is desire and attachment. And in ignorance, madness, indolence, laziness, sleep. Okay, so similarly, if you have a exam at 9 o'clock and 8 o'clock, 8:30 you are sleeping, means you are very, very lazy, even you don't want to go for exam. So, what could be the worst damage? Now, let's discuss on characteristics and manifestations discussed in verse number 11 to 20. So in goodness, when you are in goodness, it illuminates the gates of body with knowledge. And it frees you from all sinful reactions. You become happy, you become knowledgeable, you become satisfied. And in passion, intense endeavor, unlimited desire and loss. Create attachment, fruitive activities. So by all these characteristics, passion is manifest. And in ignorance, why ignorance? Because of delusion, because of illusion, because of darkness, because of madness, because of inertia. Okay, so these are the different characteristics of ignorance. Delusion, darkness, madness, inertia. So what is the destination at death? Attains the pure, higher planets of the great sages. What is the destination for goodness? They attain the higher planets of the great sages. And in passion, one attains the earthly planets. Be here on earth and have a lot of money, have a lot of wealth. Okay, so in ignorance, birth in lower space. Then what is the result of action? Result of action of goodness is pure. Knowledge. See things as they are. Elevation to higher planets like Brahmalok and Janalok. What are the results of action of passion? Misery, greed, earthly planets. Be on earth. Accumulate lot of money. And what are the results of action of ignorance? Foolishness, madness, illusion, life in hellish world. Okay, those who are in ignorance, they will be always in hellish world on this earthly planet. You want to enjoy over here. Okay, you want to enjoy meat, have meat. Okay, so this all comes under ignorance. What are the different obstacles presented by various modes? No impetus to take up spiritual life. Why? They want happiness, they want knowledge. All these are material things. So if you are hankering behind material things, how can you get spiritual life? But after practicing long time goodness, one gets opportunity to perform devotional service, to get into spiritual life. Okay, so those who are in goodness, very rare they're humble, very case, in a very less chances, very rare cases. Have sense of superiority. Hard to learn. Why? I already know. Have knowledge. Okay, the one who has knowledge in goodness, they say, I have knowledge. I have already knowledge. I have read Geeta so many times. I don't want to go to temple and hear it from acharyas, from Guru. Okay, so because of this goodness, all the goodness eliminates all kind of sinful reaction. But it is all material. At the end, but we can say that goodness is also material, because you are running behind knowledge and happiness. Can't give up the fruit. Why? Because they are impatient. Because they want to fulfill unlimited desire. They are very attached, very, very attached. Often willing to sin to fulfill desire. So even they can perform some sin to fulfill their desire. They cannot compromise with their desire. So they can, very rare chances they can take up to bhakti with determination. In ignorance, too deluded to recognize Krishna's instruction. Too lazy to perform obstacles. Okay, so they don't want to get up early in the morning and do some arti, mangalarti, darshanarti, all. Because all mangalarti and darshanarti happen early in the morning. So they don't want to get up. Even though they have all the facilities to attend the arti, they don't want to get up early in the morning. Okay, so these are the different obstacles of various modes. Then, from verse number 10 to 30, we'll see, recognizing the supremacy of mode within a person. How these three modes have become supreme with a person. The modes compete with one another for the supremacy within the individual. It is discussed in verse number 10. Each mode wants to become supreme. There is a competition. Manifesting from goodness in knowledge, from passion attachment, uncontrollable desire, and intense endeavor, and from ignorance, inactivity, and so those who are in ignorance, they are totally inactive. They don't want to work. Okay. So verse number 10 talks about competition between the modes. Rajastamascha vibhuya sattvam bhavati bharata rajah sattvam tamaschaiva tamah sattvam rajastatha. Sometimes the mode of goodness becomes prominent, defeating the modes of passion and ignorance. O son of earth, sometimes the mode of passion defeats goodness and ignorance. And other times, ignorance defeats goodness and passion. In this way, there is always competition for supremacy. Okay? So, rajas tamas chavibhuya sattvam bhavati bharata. So, how do the modes act on living in peace? So, in one's life, all these three modes of material nature are competing with each other. Who can rule? Who can rule? So, these three modes of material nature are not in constant in nature. They have no influence upon the living entity. But it is our karma, our work, our association, our choice of food, and so on. If you associate with devotee while in goodness, you can become pure devotee. But it should be taught at the right time. A particular mode becomes predominant within us. Okay, so these three modes of materialists fighting within to defeat each. So sometimes goodness defeats passion and ignorance. Sometimes passion defeats goodness and ignorance. And sometimes ignorance defeats both goodness and passion. Okay. So, how to identify these three modes of material nature? So, depends on the characteristics of goodness, passion, and ignorance. You can identify. Okay, so living entity always wants to transcend the modes. So, if you want to transcend these three modes of material nature, you have to take Krishna consciousness. Chant Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare. By chanting Hare Krishna Mahamar, you can escape from three modes of material nature. By following Guru Sadhu Sangh, you can escape from material nature. By reading Bhagavad Geeta, Bhagavatam, listening to Acharyas, you can escape from three modes of material nature. Okay, so when you are pure, it means you are in goodness. So there are chances of getting liberation. If you follow Guru Sadhu Sangha, go to temple, associate with devotee, do some seva. So slowly, by practicing all these in goodness, you can be pure. Okay. So we'll stop over here. Next time we'll see from verse number 11. Any question you can ask? श्रीमद् भगवद गीता की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय, निताई गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। वांछा कल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। हरे कृष्ण।